YouTube, what's up everyone? Welcome back to the show. You are in for a treat. The IMF, they just cracked the door open. And what's on the other side? Well, it looks very familiar to XRP holders. If you've been waiting for a signal from the global financial elite, this is it. Sit tight because what I'm about to show you, it's going to change everything. And as always, make sure you hit that thumbs up button, folks. The more thumbs up we get, the more YouTube is going to push this out because everyone in the XRP community, they need to hear this video and be aware of what is going on. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, go ahead, hit that subscribe button. Why not? Let's start right here. The IMF, that's right. They highlighted XRP for cross-border payments. Let's dive in head first to this. We got a news article coming out brought to you by XRPRightNow.com, your one and only source for all your Ripple and XRP news. And today's headline, it is absolutely wild, folks. The IMF, they have officially identified XRP as a potential technology for future cross-border settlement systems. Not fringe opinion, not any speculation here, not even a rumor. This is straight from the IMS FinTech's notes that is titled Trust Bridges and Money Flows, a digital marketplace to improve cross-border payments. And don't you worry because Rip got the article right over here. That's right. I bring documents and proof to everything that I put out there, folks. We don't speculate around here. We drop the news. We drop the facts. So the IMF, they absolutely cooked. I mean cooked the existing financial system in this report. They said that the current model, bank-to-bank credit, your fragile trust network, slow corridors, it is basically held together with duct tape and it's outdated agreements. Domestic payments have, well, they have broken down. I think that's the nice way to say this. And the central bank infrastructure, it's old and outdated. But cross-border, well, what do we got there? Chaos, delays, high cost, hundreds of bilateral agreements bogged down by compliance checks. That's right. Look, the system is choking on its own complexity, and it doesn't have to be like this, man. It really doesn't. And that's when they revealed the solution: tokenization, shared ledgers, instant ownership transfers, and settlement tokens. And yes, if you guessed it, they explicitly acknowledged XRP operates as a settlement token on a purpose-built network. You heard that correctly. You can see it right here on your screen under the FinTech notes. I can't highlight it because it's the picture. Oh, there we go. I just did. That's it. That's not an ad. That's from the IMF. The IMF is literally outlining the architecture that Ripple built a decade ago, and they are now using it as an example of what the future will look like. But this goes even a step further, folks, because inside this report, the IMF identifies 3 different frameworks for this global digital marketplace. And one of them, a private settlement asset paired with a dedicated payment network. That's XRP's entire identity. This is not hype. This is legit the IMF. You know, where Christine Lagarde used to work and walk into a Brad Garlinghouse into all these meetings with the top central bankers in the world, who's now working over at the ECB, and now Christine Lagarde, rumored, might be taking over the BIS. They are acknowledging the system that Ripple has built and acknowledging that XRP could plug directly into a global marketplace for tokenized money. Look, SWIFT changed the world in the 1970s, no doubt about it. The IMF is now describing the next evolution, and XRP's blueprint, it is already in motion, folks, which brings us over to this, because here's the part that the regulators won't be able to ignore. XRP, it aligns with every major regulatory framework. The PMFI, Basel III, FATF 15 and 16, it's full ISO 2022 compliant. This isn't just a blockchain. This is a regulatory masterpiece built to plug directly into the banking infrastructure without rewriting global compliance. XRP wasn't built to compete with banks. It was built to integrate with the banks, folks. Plug and play. Everything is about plug and play. Now, if you didn't watch the first video of the day, well, I suggest you go give it a listen and then come back here because we talked about this exact point in the first video. Remember when we spoke about how Swift's own Andre Casterman, he stated that new currencies, and he mentions cryptocurrencies and crypto assets, and he said that they are going to prove their relevance. And then he gave examples of both XRP and XLM. Once again, none of this is random. You got the IMF over here, you have Swift leadership over here, you have global regulators, folks, and they are all pointing at the same category of assets: utility-driven settlement networks with specialized roles. The story is writing itself. We don't even need to write it, which brings us over to this, because Ripple makes progress while others out there are just making noise. And look at how Ripple responds. Everyone else in crypto is screaming hype, means bear market, and Ripple's just like, look, man, don't worry about it. We're good. Ripple drops a guide for CFOs and Treasury showing their exact numbers. Remember, this company, G Treasury, Ripple acquired. 60 to 90% reduction in cross-border cost. 24/7 settlement, less trapped liquidity, zero vendor lock-in, and clear, provable infrastructure. Institutions, they don't want promises. I'm going to tell you that right now. They don't. They want results. Ripple is literally spoon-feeding them the damn blueprint. And as all this is going on, Kathy Wood is out here and she's screaming that Bitcoin's going to $1.5 million.
I want to start right with Bitcoin and what you see as the outlook for Bitcoin's price. In recent weeks, you've come out and said $1.5 million per Bitcoin by the year 2030. Since then, though, we've seen quite a few outflows. We've seen a lot of volatility. Shonali just went through that. Is that still your view? 1.5 million by 2030?
Yes, it is our view. I think right now we're in a risk-off period generally. And if you've been watching Bitcoin, it's almost been a leader in terms of risk on, risk off. So I think that's what we're seeing. If you look at our on-chain analytics, what you will see is that we are in the middle of a little bit more than halfway through a 4-year cycle. We think we're still in a bull market. And we believe that the deregulation that we're seeing here in the United States is going to be very important to institutions moving into this new asset class. Asset allocators have to have a point of view on this new asset class. And we think by putting it in portfolios, risk-adjusted returns for the entire portfolio will go up.
So let's talk about the comment she stated about she still believes we're in a bull market. Look, until data proves otherwise, we are still in a bull market. Until Bitcoin breaks back down and has a weekly close under 74K, the bull market remains. Now, this might not be the bull market you imagine, but also remember Bitcoin's 86,000, 87,000, right? We want Bitcoin to continue going up. The higher Bitcoin goes, the higher our altcoins are going to go. We don't want this thing to roll over. Everyone's out there. Look, people have been screaming. People block me on Twitter because I tell them they're wrong. I have the same people who've been screaming it's alt season for 2 years. It's not alt season. It is not alt season until Bitcoin dominance drops down. The market is chilling right now. We are bouncing around in very tight ranges. Something is going to give. The question, what gives? Does Bitcoin go down and nuke this market and then we get a weak rotation into alts? Or does Bitcoin decide it's going to have another monster leg up in 2026, leading us into the summer, leading us into Trump's stimulus checks that are going to go out, and then we're going to see a bull run like we did during the COVID era? Time's going to tell. No one has a crystal ball where this thing is going, right? Bitcoin, it keeps going lower and lower. Is it going to reverse up out of here? Pay attention, 94,000 is your major milestone to break. 94 gets broken, then we need to get back above 100K. We're a long ways from it right now, but these markets flip like this. What do I personally want to see? I get asked this question all the time. Very simple. I want Bitcoin to go to 150, 200,000, maybe even 250,000. The higher Bitcoin goes, the higher your altcoins are going to run. If Bitcoin's going to take another 6 months to a year in order to get up to 150 to 250,000, so be it. Because the more money that enters this market, the more money we make from altcoins. It really is that simple, folks. You don't rush something like this, which moves us over to this political momentum, Bitcoin for taxes. And now we're hearing rumors about possibly XRP for taxes. Let's see where that goes. As always, it's going to be Bitcoin out the gate. So we got a US lawmaker here who is pushing legislation that would allow all Americans to pay federal taxes in Bitcoin. Now, ask yourself this question. Why would the US government want to be paid in Bitcoin? Because they are stacking Bitcoin. They are looking to get their hands on as much Bitcoin as possible. And if they can have people pay their taxes in Bitcoin, that is exactly what they are going to do. Listen up.
Introduced the Bitcoin for America Act, which would allow Americans to pay their federal taxes in Bitcoin. Tell us about this.
Well, look, we're talking about affordability. That's just your dollar's been getting crushed. You know, the house that you live in didn't inherently get more valuable. The money that you measure it in got worth less. And gold is another indicator. One of the best performers in the past year or 2 years has been gold. And that's just one of the worst performers has been the dollar. So a lot of people hold other assets. Bitcoin's been one of the big rises over the last 10 years for sure. And you could pay your taxes in Bitcoin and avoid capital gains on that. But the president created a strategic Bitcoin reserve. How do you fund it? Well, having one control point, the treasurer, Secretary of Treasury, control it makes sense. But you can fund it with no government spending just by collecting Bitcoin as payments for taxes. So that's what the
look. I like it. It's adoption.
Introduce the Bitcoin.
At the end of the day, that is adoption. The shift is happening fast, everyone. And once digital assets get woven into policy, the infrastructure tokens like your XRP, like the actual network itself, the XRP ledger, tokenized settlement networks as a whole, they become unavoidable, which brings us over to this. The biggest institutions on planet Earth are speaking even louder. BlackRock, JP Morgan, HSBC, they're all starting to say the same exact thing. Tokenized yield-bearing real-world assets are going to reshape global finance. This is the exact environment where Ripple and XRP thrive. Remember that. Tokenized money, tokenized assets, instant settlement, interoperable networks, institutional rails. XRP was literally designed for this exact moment, which gets us over to the strategic Bitcoin reserve. We touched on that one, but I want to get into this next. XRP leads ETF inflows again. I don't know if you've been under a rock. I don't know if you just hate XRP, but look, the institutional money, the Wall Street money, they're speaking for themselves. They are telling you what they want. They want XRP. That is why so much money is coming into it. I see people out there putting up the argument, it's because it's new. What's new? XRP has been out here for over a decade. People could have bought an XRP at any single time. This is not a new asset. And the ETF, sure, that's new. But if people wanted XRP, they would have bought XRP when it was 20 cents, when it was 50 cents, even when it was $1. They are getting into it now because Wall Street wants it, because of everything that Ripple has done in the background, and they understand where this is going. We had another amazing XRP ETF volume day as well. I believe we got over 40 million in fresh inflows coming in again. And remember, this was only day 2 of your big boy, Frankie T. Bitwise has only been live. This is day 4. And this is all right before a holiday break over here in the States. A lot of people are gone. It's going to be interesting to see how December is going to play out. And folks, if you haven't booked that call, get it booked and let's get going, me and you. And let's zoom out for a second on all this. You got the IMF, who is acknowledging XRP settlement potential. You got regulators who are all aligning. Institutions, they are building. ETF floods are flowing with inflows. Tokenization exploding. Policy shifting, and your global banks are preparing for an entirely new settlement layer. XRP isn't becoming part of the system. It is the system in making. And everyone who's watching right now, you're early, you're ahead, and you are witnessing the financial reset before it becomes obvious. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button, folks, on the way out. I hope you enjoyed the content. I'll be back